Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. Folks, the last 5 vehicles I have bought have all come from Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. I go there time and again. I've gotten 4 Sorrentos and a new Kia Telluride. Now, right now, I bought mine in December. If you bought yours now, and that goes for any 2020 model of Kia, if you buy yours from Rusty Wallace right now, there on Callahan Drive, right now through the end of April, they will make the payments for you until 2021. That doesn't mean your payments are deferred. That means they make the payments. That takes money off the price of that car. That is pretty impressive. Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville. Get out there and see them this week. All right, here's somebody you can see this week right now. We got Mike Strange, longtime sports writer, Hall of Fame sports writer in the state of Tennessee. Mike, thanks for joining us. Good to have you here. And I apologize. I usually don't wear an earpiece, and I'm wearing one today, so if you see wires popping out back here, it's just part of my grade D level of production. All right. This was the first week that started to see the impact of the loss of sports revenue for universities. University of canceled its soccer program. A lot of people said, soccer. I think that's the first of many that you're going to be seeing. And one hint to that is this news, and we got a graphic here, I think, for you. There were several leagues, 5 of them, the non-Power 5 conferences, that asked for help this week from the NCAA, the American Athletic Conference, Conference USA, Mid-American Conference, Mountain West, Sun Belt. They asked the NCAA to relax rules and standards for Division I membership for 4 years. Right now, to be a Division I school, you have to have a certain average attendance, you have to play a certain number of sports, you have to have a number of scholarships you give out. They are saying for the next 4 years, can you avoid doing that to help us get through this? Which tells me you're going to have schools that aren't carrying the mandated number, which I think is 16. They also made this request on behalf of all 350 Division I schools, they say. Mike Strange, your thoughts on how this is starting to be felt and where it's going to go?
Well, the first footstep, as you said, was the Cincinnati men's soccer program, University of Cincinnati, and I read something online where a athletic director was quoted as saying, if they canceled a sport now because of this, they were already kind of thinking about it anyway, because so many sports do put quite a strain on a budget for the university, especially the non-Power 5. So yes, I think we'll see more of it, and I think we're going to see, as far as the request from those the group of 5, I would rubber stamp that and say yes right now.
I would be shocked if the NCAA doesn't, because what are you going to do? Throw dozens or hundreds of schools out of Division I? I think it's a no-brainer. I agree with Mike. I think they'll rubber stamp it.
Yeah, there's a reason they've come together to do this, right, or to request this. And I would say Mike's right as well, that schools have already probably looked at certain sports and considered it already, and this would end up being, however you would describe it, an excuse or justification or just the final push to do away with some sports at different schools, and I hate it. But more is coming, and schools and athletes are going to have to brace for it.
Well, I was talking to somebody this week. There was a kid locally who was being recruited to play soccer at Cincinnati who got the word this week. That's bad, and you hate to see that. But the real fear is, and you're right, the first one is something that went this early. They probably were already looking at doing away with that. But the fact that leagues are having to ask these types of questions suggests more of it's coming. But also, this is without football being lost. If you don't have football, and I think they'll get football sometime, some way, they'll get some of that revenue. But if you don't have the full cash coming in from television of football.
Well, it comes back to why they have to have it, which I think everybody recognizes. They've got to have football from a financial standpoint. We want to see it, and professionally we could use some football as well coming up in the fall or this upcoming year.
Yes.
But the other sports, they need football for survival, because you want to talk about more cancellations are coming. Cancel football, and that's how it goes for the other sports.
Well, yeah, and that's when you start talking about even the Power 5 conferences are starting to have some issues, because we broke it down a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Tennessee in 2019, the last fiscal year, they made $91 million from football and like $18 million from every other sport on conference. 17 of that came from men's basketball. So if you lose football, even at that point, even Alabama and Tennessee and Notre Dame, the big boys are going to start going, do we really need this sport? And until they figure out something with Title IX, and they may,
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
the men's sports, the smaller men's sports are
They're
the
gonna
more
get
the
whacked.
ones that are more in jeopardy.
Yeah,
Because football has 85 scholarships, and you've got to have as many scholarships for women, unless, and that's the law of the land. So I don't know how they just
Right.
say we'll ignore it this year, but it is an interesting time. When we come back, we're going to talk about what the conference commissioners are saying. This is interesting. They were pretty straightforward this week. There was no dancing around this. It may not be the answer some people want to hear, but when you read their comments, it's hard to see them going back on it. Come on back on the Sports Source.